It may not have been the first book that the master of horror ever published, but The Long Walk was the first novel Stephen King ever wrote. Written during the height of the Vietnam War, it is a fascinating primal keystone text for understanding the lens through which King sees the world.
Man, you gotta not think about the things out of your control, think about your plan.
And all that remains relevant about that text, translated faithfully by director Francis Lawrence and screenwriter J.T. Molnar, allows this long overdue adaptation to punch above the weight its bare-bones premise may suggest. I'm Tom Jorgensen, and this is my review of The Long Walk.
Hey, fucking fair! Fuck!
Warning, number 47.
Coyote?
Number 6. Number 23.
Yes, sir.
The rules for the 50 young men who've won a nationwide lottery to compete in The Long Walk are simple. Walk. Don't stop, don't sleep, walk. If a walker drops below 3 miles per hour, interferes with another walker, or otherwise breaks the rules, it's a warning.
Warning, number 47.
Coyote?
Number 6. Number 23.
Yes, sir.
3 warnings and you get your ticket. In most cases, that means a bullet to the brain, courtesy the military escort riding along in Humvees, led by the Major, a roaring parody of machismo and rugged individualism, who's something of a godhead in this ailing world.
Who's ready to fucking win?
The more the walk winds on, though, and as the elements and the limits of the human body come into play, the better that bullet starts to look for the set-upon young men. Lawrence, who cut his teeth on dystopic fiction with I Am Legend and most of the Hunger Games movies, kicks the walk off within moments of the movie starting, but takes his sweet time before letting the first contestant get eliminated. A moment he punctuates with a cinematic flourish that lands as a real surprise so long after the movie has started. Every drop of rain, hill, dropped ration, and bowel movement that follow become life or death modifiers of the march. The dozens of deaths that occur as The Long Walk goes are covered plainly and unflinchingly. By the time the walk has wound down to its final contestants, the ones who got their tickets early on look like the real lottery winners. Lawrence rarely lets viewers off the hook, squeezing every drop of blood out of that R rating and forcing the viewer to be complicit in that violence. Even when we don't see the carnage, Lawrence puts the focus on the terrified faces of the survivors, highlighting the mounting psychological weight being loaded onto them as their bodies start to fail. The violence doesn't take long to become numbing, but that's the whole point here. Lawrence smartly illuminates that by having Cooper Hoffman's Ray Garrity call out the real horror of The Long Walk early on, vocalizing his fear that both the walkers and the audience in their world, and by extension our own, will grow to accept the bloodshed as routine.
It took me a while to realize the truth of this. This is walk or die.
Simple though it is, the conceit of The Long Walk proves a very elastic premise onto which many types of societal adversity can be projected. Garrity's reasons for joining the walk and why winning matters to him are a lot more complicated than most of his other competitors, which leaves him more open to forging relationships with the other walkers, namely Peter McVries.
All for one!
One for all.
Nah, and again, I need to hear it louder. All for one!
And one for all!
Hell yeah! Yeah, man.
Garrity and McVries spend much of The Long Walk musing on the larger existential questions begged by the very existence of the competition, and both Cooper Hoffman and David Jonsson bring easy naturalism to their performances, which winds up being a real saving grace in the midst of all this darkness. The support and kindness they show each other ends up becoming infectious, leading to moments of triumph as small as sharing food or letting one lean on the other. It also makes the times when they're at odds feel as dangerous as the creeping exhaustion they are both fighting, as that camaraderie feels more and more like the real secret to getting out of this thing alive, even if the rules state that only one of them would be able to make it in the first place. With Garrity's attention set to how his single wish could change the world if he wins, Jonsson's McVries ends up becoming the real heart of this film, putting lovely emphasis on the power of living moment to moment and finding silver linings to every thundercloud. Even the ones that dump rain on the boys as their shoes begin to fall apart and their feet start to bleed.
You don't think about making it to the end, just making it to the next moment.
Garrity and McVrie's fellow walkers don't get nearly as much depth, and here Lawrence and Molnar feel a bit stuck figuring out how much time to invest in developing characters with such short life expectancies.
Hank Olson's the name, walking's my game.
Even more prevalent characters like Olson and Baker, who take to Garrity and McVrie's optimism, are mostly just there to reinforce the co-protagonists' viewpoints.
Personally, I can't stop thinking about all that money.
On candid camera.
Man, you gotta not think about the things out of your control. Think about your plan.
Barkovich is an antagonist in the truest sense of the word, a nervy, annoying nihilist who the Long Walk uses to needle at the competitors, positioning him as a ticking time bomb, poking holes in Garrity and McVrie's attempts to keep morale up, but he never quite goes off the way the movie seems to want you to think he will. Stebbins, a strong, quiet contender for the win, is a much more interesting character in that respect. His usual silence make any infrequent observations about the futility of hope or revelations about his own thorny motivations to walk hit a lot harder.
You'll walk as long as you can.
Warning!
But sometimes the body won't listen.
Mark Hamill's Major is drawn pretty thin, and the fact that he's got the privilege of being driven around on the back of a Jeep while the boys die walking gives you everything you need to understand about what the Long Walk's trying to say through him.
You boys are the answer. The Long Walk is the answer.
The Long Walk runs relatively short at 108 minutes, but it feels every second of it. The rinse and repeat nature of the deaths may hold a lot of emotional weight here, but rarely has the hair-splitting thought of shaving 10 or even 5 minutes off of a cut felt like it may pay greater dividends as the pace does start to drag in the Long Walk's second half. Gorgeous though the practical locations may be, Lawrence is only able to squeeze so much visual variety out of those long, verdant stretches of road, though he does break up the drone of the walk with occasional flashbacks to Ray's home life, which do explain why he was so adamant to join the walk in the first place. These flourishes aren't the only changes constant readers will notice, but the detours Lawrence takes from King's source material are all additive. They stay in the spirit of the book and feel respectful to the story rather than an attempt to change anything just for the sake of it. Though the focus and perspective rightly stays on the walkers, Judy Greer's Ginny Garrity, Ray's mom, has a few opportunities to show up in support for her son, and hey, no shock to anybody that knows anything about Judy Greer, she absolutely crushes in these very brief appearances. Greer's quick shifts through all the complex emotions a mother in this world may possibly experience watching her boy take part in this death march bookend the story and are as haunting as any bullet or hemorrhage in this movie has to offer.
Every moment matters, especially at the end.
The Long Walk is getting an 8. It holds a harrowing and brutal mirror up to its audience, pulling no punches as it grinds its way through dozens of young men who will risk it all for a better life. Cooper Hoffman and David Jonsson share the spotlight wonderfully, building a rapport that serves as the only light in what's unquestionably one of the most bleak Stephen King adaptations ever. The repetitive nature of the story leaves The Long Walk feeling longer and longer as it goes, but for all the open-ended questions it raises about a world which would condone and cheer on such violence, the answers it finds in the value of friendship and kindness feel all the more powerful. Thank you for watching. For more movie reviews, check out what we thought of Nobody 2 and Weapons, and as always, keep it right here on IGN.